Hey guys, it's Thang here, so welcome to another build video. So today in this build video, we are looking at the Demon Hunter's Fire Multishot build based upon pretty much Multishot and the Unhallowed Essence. So it's on patch 2.4.1 for the PTR at the current time being, which means that anything and everything can change before it hits live serve. Hopefully not. It's been a fun build so far, and it makes me enjoy the Demon Hunter. Although this build is powerful, it's also at the same time you are super squishy with this build. Well, you are playing a ranged character after all, but try it out anyway. So have a look at the little sample video, and we'll go into the gears, the skill points, Paragon levels, the whole shebang. Okay, I will see you soon.
I must heal.
I got too low. My strength is back.
Alright, so welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed the little snippet type of video. First we're going to do is we're going to go into the stats priority and then everything else. Okay, so for stats we want critical hit chance and critical hit damage as our top priority, and then we're going to go into cooldown reduction. Not so much because we do have the Dawn in the Kanai cube to help us reduce vengeance cooldown, but we're also going to be using some hate generators as well, because we're going to have focus and resist. So we want a cooldown reduction to be at least 30 to 35. That is pretty much a good number for it. So, and then everything else is going to be into all resist, multi-shot, and of course, you know, area damage if you can. Okay. Alright, so the very first items that we are going to need is going to be the full Unhallowed Essence set piece bonus. So we need all 6 of them, okay? We're not using the Ring of Royal Grandeur or anything like that. So we're going to be using the helm, the shoulders, the gloves, the chest piece, the pants, and the boots itself to give us the 6-piece set, okay? So number 2 gives us your generators generate 2 additional hatred and 1 discipline. So this way they will help us regenerate hatred, which allows us to spam multi-shot a lot. Okay, so that is great. And then number 4, gain 60% damage reduction and deal 60% increased damage for 8 seconds if no enemies is within 10 yards of you. So you have to be at least 11 yards away from the enemy at all time. Well, within 8 seconds anyway. You'll see this little icon right there. That will indicate if you get that buff or not. Okay, so you will always need this buff at all time. If you don't, you're going to lose that buff, which means you're going to die and you can't kill fast, okay? And then the 6-piece set bonus, your generators, Multishot and Vengeance, deal 40% increased damage for every point of discipline you have on you. So we're going to be using anything we can to increase our discipline so that we get that 40% damage increase for every point that we have. Okay, so that is the 6-piece set bonus that we need for this build. Alright, the next item is going to be Yang's Recurve right here. So your multi-shot attacks 50% faster. So that's why the attack speed was not on the priority list for the stats priority. Because our multi-shot is already going to be firing as fast as possible. And we also don't want to fire it really fast, because the reason is because if we do, then all our hatred will go down to 0, and that means that we can't fire anything, right? So that pretty much makes us gimpy-ish. So that's why you don't really want that much of fast attack speed. Okay, so next is going to be Dead Man's Legacy. So your multi-shot hits enemies below X amount health twice. So you want to be on the higher end of that spectrum versus the lower end. So don't be at 50%. You be at around 60%, because then they can be damaged much more faster. Okay, so when they hit 60%, your multi-shots are going to be hitting them twice versus once only. Okay, so that's why you want 60 instead of 50 on this one. Okay, next is going to be the Wraps of Clarity right here. Your hatred generators reduce your damage taken by X amount, which means 30 to 35% for 5 seconds. So with this build, we are using a hatred generator, so that it will help us to reduce damage taken. Okay, so these are really good. I mean, if you're not going to be using a hatred generator, there aren't really that many bracers to use, except for pretty much the Nemesis bracers. And that will help out with progression, but also at the same time, at the beginning I told you, you are going to be super squishy. Okay, so that's why we want this one and a hatred generator. Okay, so the next two items are going to be your rings. Now you're going to be using restraint and focus, because we are using a hatred generator and a hatred spender. So we'll always have both of them up at the same time. Okay, so no worries about there. You can't see them because they're not hitting any mobs at all. But that's pretty much how that works. So you pretty much know what focus and restraint does. Okay, next item is going to be the Witching Hour right here to increase our damage by X amounts, and of course also increasing our attack speed. Now if you don't want to use the Witching Hour, you can always use the Vigilant belt to increase your cooldown reduction, but the more damage you have, the better. Okay, so lastly is going to be our necklace piece. So the best one is going to be, of course, the Hellfire Amulet. Now this is just for an example. Right here, Hellfire Amulet would be best. I mean, these stats would be amazing on anyone, right? Dexterity, critical hit damage, and critical hit chance. They are amazing. But unfortunately, because it's for a monk, the passive is shitty. So those are something to look for. The passive you want probably on it would be Leech as well. So Hellfire Amulet is the best. If you can't get it, you can get a normal amulet like this that has critical hit damage or critical hit chance on them. Both of them on them would be great. Other than that, you can use the S of Johan right here to pull enemies towards your target, like to suck them into a vortex. That is really great. Or you can use the Flavor of Time to increase your cooldown reduction. So those are the amulets to choose from. I don't really have a good amulet. I think this one's better. This one increases my damage a lot, but decreases my survivability by quite a lot. Okay, so we're gonna go into legendary gems now. So we're gonna be using the Bane of Trapped right here for damage increase, and because of how our multi-shot works, every single time we use multi-shot, the enemies will be slowed for 2 seconds, and that means that this will always be active. Okay, so it doesn't matter. And then we're going to be using Zai's Stone of Vengeance because we're going to be more than 10 yards away from enemies, so we'll always have that active as well. And 20% chance to stun enemy for 1 second. That's really great. And then lastly is going to be the Bane of the Powerful, so that we get increase in damage to elites and mobs themselves after we kill elites. So those are your legendary gems, and last gems are going to be pretty much the Flawless Royal Diamond Gem right here for cooldown reduction, and then we have the Dexterity gems for every other socket. Now, if you feel like you need to use diamond gems for toughness, go ahead, but you're pretty much going to be squished and die. Okay, for the Kanai cube right here, you may not be able to see the bottom, but you can pretty much see the overlay of the tooltip. We're going to be using Dawn just to reduce the cooldown of our Vengeance by 65%. And now because this is fire, we're going to be using the Cinder Coat to reduce the cost of the resource by 30%. And this is very important. If you don't have the Cinder Coat on your Kanai cube, you're going to be using a lot of Hatred, which means that you're going to be out, which means that you can't DPS shit, which means that they don't die and they're gonna kill you. Okay, lastly is going to be the Conventions of Elements. So whenever it hits fire, hit all your cooldowns so that you can kill things much faster. No need for explanation there. Okay. Alright, so for our Paragon levels, I would suggest moving a maximum hatred so you have a lot more hatred, so that way you don't run out of hatred. Even though it does divert from dexterity, I think you can take that hit so that you can do more of multi-shot. Okay, movement speed to 25% to match whatever you have on your boots. If you don't have it on your boots, then 25%, and everything else into dexterity so that you can do more damage and more toughness at the same time. Okay, so let's put all that there. Okay, and then our offense is gonna be critical hit chance first, critical hit damage next, cooldown reduction, and then attack speed is last, and then defensive, you're gonna put all resist, life regen, armor, then life. Okay, utility is going to be resource cost reduction right here, and then area damage, then life on hit, and then gold fine. You can actually level either life on hit or area damage at the same time, or one after another. It doesn't really matter. It's either or, but resource cost reduction is going to be first. Okay, so that's for the Paragon levels. Alright, so for our skills, we're going to be using Multishot right here with Arsenal. Rune, fire a massive volley of arrows dealing 360% weapon damage to all enemies in the area. Every time you fire, launch 3 rockets at nearby enemies that deal 300% weapon damage each as fire. Okay, then we're going to be using the smoke screen right here with displacement, so it makes you invisible and gains movement speed. Now if you don't want to use that, you can always use Vault with Trail of Cinders right here, because you should not be close to the enemies at all. So you're going to flip backward and you're going to have a trail of fire which damage them for 300% weapon damage. Okay, so you can use that. Then we're going to be using Vengeance with Seath right here to gain 4 additional piercing shots for 60% weapon damage each on every attack, and then homing signal rockets, shoot 2 rockets at nearby enemies for 80% weapon damage on every attack, and then gain 40% increase in damage from Vengeance, and then gain 10 hatred per second. So that's how we're going to regenerate hatred as much as possible. Okay, now we're going to be using Preparation with Invigoration right here to permanently increase our discipline. The more discipline we have, of course, the more damage that we're going to do because of the 6-piece set bonus. Okay, that's why we have this here. Then we're going to have the Companion with the Wolf Companion rune. So when you activate it, you gain 30% increase in damage for 10 seconds. Okay, so it always has a 20 seconds cooldown. That's minusing the 10 seconds right there. So remember to activate this when your Conventions of Element is in the fire phase. Okay, so that's how you can get that much damage out. Then lastly, we're going to be using Evasive Fire right here with Hardening. The reason for this is so that we can activate the Focus, I think Focus or Restraint, one of those ones. And then not only that, but you will increase your armor by 25% for 3 seconds if an enemy is in front of you at close range. So this will help you survive just a little bit more. Remember, 10 yard is very small in Diablo 3. Okay, just keep that in mind. Now for our passive, we're going to be using Steady Aim right here. As long as there are no enemies within 10 yards, all damage is increased by 20%. Like I said, 10 yard is very tiny in Diablo 3. Okay, so that's why we want to have that there, because we should not be close to any enemies at all. If you do, you're going to die really quick. Next is going to be Thrill of the Hunt. So enemies hit by your hatred spenders, which is Multishot, are slowed by 80% for 2 seconds. So that's why that we don't need to be close to the mobs for our Bane of the Trap. This will activate it for us. Okay, then we're going to use ballistics right here. So increase damage by rockets by 100%. And then in addition, you have a 20% chance to fire homing rockets for 150% when you attack. So that's a lot of extra damage right there. And then ambush, you deal a 40% additional damage to enemies above 75%. So that way you can get them down to that 60 mark. The 60 mark for your multi-shot really fast. Okay, so those are our skills and our passive. Okay, so lastly is going to be our follower, which we are going to be using the Templar, of course. This guy will help us tank along with our wolf right there. The most important thing that we need on our Templar is going to be the Thunder Fury Blessed Blade of the Windseeker, because this will help reduce our the damage done by enemies whenever it procs. And also we're going to be using the SF Johan right here on him as well, so all the mobs will be pulled into him and not into us or where we shoot things. Okay, so those 2 items are what we need. And of course, lastly, of course, him being immortal. No brainer there. For our skills, we're going to be using Heal You and your Templar. So you can use that, or you can use Taunt if you want to, 10 seconds cooldown, so that way he can taunt all the other targets. Then provide life generation for you and the Templar, of course, because you are going to be hit now and then. And then you're going to use Charge and enemy dealing and stunning nearby enemies. And lastly is going to be Inspire to increase our hatred generation. So that is pretty much it for the Templar, and that is pretty much it for the guide. So it's pretty easy. I only have 1,206 Paragon levels, and I guess it does take a lot of skills to get through this, but it's pretty easy to do anyways, in my opinion, and it's actually pretty fun. It's different from other class that I've used. Is it the best? Not really, but is it fun? Yes, it is. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed that build video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and don't forget to press subscribe, because that really does help me out. And press like too, and come join the stream sometimes, because it's been really fun. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye.